If you don't have these tools or you're too busy, first things first, come with the willingness to practice discipline. We will give you these tools. We will implement them in your business. We will hold you accountable for using them. But at the end of the day, there's one thing that I can't fix, and that's somebody that's unwilling to do what's necessary. So I got to make that really, really clear, because I think there is some misconceptions that a checklist or an SOP is going to solve all the problems. No, they're just tools. They're tools that help us and make our jobs easier and make things move smoothly, but we need to embrace them. We need to understand the value of them, and we also need to understand that nobody's above them. There isn't a contractor that's successful out there, not one that we can point at, that doesn't have these things in their business.
Today we're going to be talking about the secrets of managing subcontractors like a pro. And we all do it. And I know subcontractors are completely different than managing staff. And I know a lot of contractors are generally using subcontractors. Let's talk about this. What are your thoughts?
I got plenty. So I'm going to try and go through what I know to be absolute mandatory in terms of your success with subcontractors. So first things first, set clear expectations up front. Be very clear. Get it in writing. What do you expect? What can they do? What can't they do? What is what are your policies, your procedures? And be clear with them up front. All right, straightforward. We have a written SOP that goes to all of our subs, and they accept the terms and conditions that we are going to hold them accountable to. All right.
Right.
And,
this is at the onboarding stage, right? We're talking about the onboarding. Yeah.
Using
that's where it all starts. Yeah.
That's right. But actually having a detailed subcontractor agreement that's not written for a lawyer as much as it's written to be clear in terms to the subcontractor. So
I like that.
I don't use legal language. I use straightforward, bullet points. This is what we expect. This is, this is the consequence of this happening. This is, this is what we guarantee we're going to provide. This is just making sure things are crystal clear. And all it really took was every commonly answered question that I ever got from a subcontractor. I turned it into an SOP in a document, and I made that the upfront thing that we sign.
That's a good point, because there are a lot of common questions that they ask.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right.
And when somebody's thinking about investing in your business as a subcontractor, because that's what they're doing, they're considering a partnership, and that's the way you must treat them, because they are a business that is within your business. All right.
Right.
Is, again, if you make it unclear of how they can be successful with you, or unclear of what the rules are to engagement, you will almost always get poorer subs, number one, right? The best subs want security, okay? Other subs that are just, and I see this all the time, those subs that come in, they can bang off a lot of work, all right? But they're going to leave you sore and high and dry very quickly. And I warn people against those subs all the time, because they're only using you as a stepping stone. All right. And that's fine if that's what you want. But
if you're clear about that,
that's right. So you make it clear there's rules to engagement, right? And with that, you have to establish a very clear communication process. So we use, again, Company Cam. We follow the word of our agreement, right? So every job will start with a work order. Every job will have a material list. Every job will have a pre-job plan, and we do that through Company Cam, where there's a discussion, there's a handoff that occurs. All right, every job is done the same way, and we vet very carefully. We check their references, we go and check their work, we spend time actually deciding if this is a person that we want to get in bed with. Because here's the thing, too often I see guys that are desperate for any help hire the first guy with a pulse, and they get burned. And they, these lawsuits can go on for years. I mean, I can still vividly recall, having, callbacks from jobs we did 10 years ago with a bad sub. And again, you're still on the hook for it, still your name and reputation. So take the time. I feel like guys don't take the time to really look at who they're dealing with, because the amount of problems we've avoided by just asking around, just going and looking at their work and being like, nope, this is not a fit, right? They just don't meet. But again, you're making a major investment and you've got to understand, like, this has the opportunity, especially if they move quick and they get lots of work done. Like, that's a lot of liability. If you're dealing with somebody
you don't pay attention,
that's right.
They can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. No, for sure. We've all experienced that. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned about like company cam and using these systems to kind of get the feedback loop going and get the reporting back and forth, right? So the communication.
That's right. So having them actually, again, update at a certain period. So we don't pay our subs unless they update company cam at sections of work. So if they want to get paid, they have to, again, provide us with pictures showing us milestones. The paper went on, they use forklifts, like all those things. And we have a supervisor that's having ongoing communication back and forth. When we see something, we're on it, right? Like it's making, that's right. And again, subs need reinforcement, and you still have to supervise your subs. If you choose not to supervise your subs, you will eventually end up with a very mediocre performance, or somebody that's, and it happens all the time. Like somebody that comes in that was really good at the beginning, and then a couple months down the road, they're essentially ruined. Right?
Yeah. Well, you say that like at the very beginning, the onboarding process and the communication, the signing of the documents, and you're laying out, these systems that you want them to report, and these reporting systems. So they're agreeing to it at the very beginning,
and we hold them to
it through the process.
That's right.
Because, and I mention this because I know a lot of people, myself included, struggle to have subcontractors actually use these systems. Shit, like really
cool. Then go somewhere else.
Exactly.
If
but
they're not,
agreed to it at the beginning.
That's right. If they're not, and again, they're far more open at the beginning when you set those expectations and you show them. And my answer to that is, hey, do you have Facebook? Good. If you have Facebook, because you contacted me probably through Facebook,
you can figure it out.
You're going to figure it out, and we have the training for it. So, like, again, it's totally on them. At the end of the day, if
it's a requirement of payment.
If they,
that's always helpful.
If they refuse, I basically refuse to pay. It's simple as that, right? I mean, that's never the thing, but I'm going to use that as my leverage until they understand that, listen, we're fair and we will always pay our bill, always. But you're going to play by the rules in the agreement that we signed, or we're not going to play. That's simple as that.
Yeah.
Because there's too much on the line. And again, this is not, you are coming into my business, all right? And I'm here to earn a profit. I'm here to avoid the problems that come with employees, and I am looking to pay. I am paying a premium if I'm paying properly, all right. And I have expectations, just like my customers have expectations of me. And we agreed to certain things, and they're not unreasonable. If they were, you had a chance to back out. I'm not putting these things on as an extra to our agreement, all right. I always will take them back to the documents that they've signed, all right. Nothing exists. Yeah. Again, if one of my supervisors is trying to get them to do something outside of that, they have the right to say no. They have a right to get an adjustment, or again, it's about being fair. It
works both ways.
But you got to be tough. That's the point I'm trying to make. You have to be tough with these guys, because they will not respect you. They're looking for you, all right, to guide them. And if you can't, all right, this is where things begin to fall apart, and this is where leverage gets taken. Right. The other thing you have to do and I can't stress this enough, a business of even the smallest size, you have to track performance. You have to track quality control. If you're not willing to do those things, don't get subs.
All right. And I think at that point, Jay, it'd be fair for any people that are new to the community to understand what you mean by tracking performance.
Simple.
Like, what tools do we have?
So again, this could be a checklist. It could be a written checklist that you're going to just document from their performance. So the expectations that were set in the original agreement, all right, it comes with a quality control checklist. You've seen a quality control checklist, right? And you have a scorecard for the job. So, hey, did they show up when they said they would show up? Did they clean up the way the agreement said? So you take your whole agreement, those commonly answered questions, all right, like how do we do this? How do we do that? Those are check marks on a printout sheet if you need to be, but you're going to track that performance and hold them accountable to the agreement. hold them accountable, and keep score. Because again, you will start to see the patterns. If you are looking to have somebody that comes in and does the same job every single time that you can count on, all right, you want the least amount of variables and problems. If somebody's like not consistent, that's an indicator that you shouldn't be working with them. All right, that's going to eventually cost you. Okay, now shit happens, problems happen, but here's the thing that I see the most out of a lot of contractors, even guys that have been around a while, is that they don't realize that subs are eventually become like horses, right? All horses go lame. All horses, just like employees. All right, they all go lame, and at the end of the day, we have to be prepared for that, and we have to be able to pull our stop loss at a certain point. All right, and what happens is they end up with a lame horse that hasn't ran a race, and it started off as a right, and instead of taking it behind the barn and shooting it, they continue to try and get this this
Wait,
lame horse. Well, hypothetically. Hypothetically,
you can do that.
I think you're supposed to, or put them out to pasture. We'll be more politically correct. Like, we're not going to keep feeding them. That's for sure, right? Because they've become a liability and a risk to you. Now, they may have been very good at one point, all right, but don't lose track, and that's the point, right? Every job starts off as a fresh job. Okay, so performance matters, and holding them accountable to these standards matters. All right, just like with your employees, but track. It's so simple. It's so easy. And then you're setting the expectation. And again, if you want to run a business, and I'm sorry, there's too many guys out there that just have a delusional view of this. They still need supervision. If you're not willing to supervise your subs, or if you feel like your subs are capable of just completely being unsupervised on your jobs, okay, you should probably not be a contractor. Because I have a rule, trust but check. All right. It's my fault if I didn't do a quality control check. That's all me, right? I'm agreeing to pay for that service. And
it's an obligation to your clients as well.
Absolutely.
They have that expectation
and again,
of you for sure.
What you're going to realize though is, who's the deal between? Is it between you and your customer? All right. Or between your sub and your customer? Because if you want it to be between your sub and your customer, don't show up. Don't be present. Don't do your due diligence. You are a professional, and you need to be there, and you need to provide directions. You need to be clear. You need to do a couple of things. Now, can you scale with subs? Absolutely. And again, there are exceptions to some of these rules that I'm sharing with you, but like for the most guys out here probably listening, they want to get a couple subs to speed up their projects, or to get more work done. Again, these are basic. These are basic rules. These are basic things that you have to do, right? And you need to be proactive in problem resolution. Do not wait till the end of the job to start, solving change work orders and stuff. You need to be on top of these things if you have a sub. The first problems that always occur is going to be when something changes. How do you handle it? Or something is broken, or something bad happens. How do you react, or how do you handle the situation?
Yes, and that's where standard operating procedures come
Absolutely.
in. Absolutely.
So again,
right.
This avoiding the tough conversations, or avoiding upsetting subs. I hear that a lot, where again they almost put them on a pedestal, and
we all want to be nice people.
Well,
right?
There's no room for nice guys. I'm sorry, not in contracting. And here's the thing: your sub will not respect you if you go that route. That's going to make you look weak overall. Now, there's a difference. There's a fine line. You need to be fair, all right? You need to be, outgoing, I will say.
Between assertive and aggressive.
Right, but
right?
Let there be no mistake that, in our world, it's a dictatorship, right? If they want to work with us, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm willing to take that. I just love the way
you said it. Yeah.
no flies up, because at the end, who's paying my liability? Who's the one that has to hold the ultimate responsibility for it all? Great. So why would it ever be that I am equal with the sub? How could that ever be? That's like being equal with your employee. At what point do you level out where you are level with your employee? And if you do take that position, get out of business. Give up now. Just go get a job, because you have no space in this world.
So you were talking a little bit about, obviously standard operating procedures, checklists, like, all these, systems and processes that most contractors don't have time for this stuff.
Oh yeah. See, these things are time savers. These are time savers. So let's add it up for a second. No, most contractors refuse to do what's necessary to be successful. That is a reality, and that's a fact. And if you're listening to it and you're not doing these things, you're one of them. So either you have a decision to make now to be on the side that we know that works. So these are time savers. These are business savers. Okay. If you don't have a quality control and you're not willing to put out checklists, or you're too busy to do those things, then what do you think the outcome's going to be?
Right. Okay. And I'm speaking, well, when I say this, I'm speaking, from the perspective of the average, which is a huge amount of contractors, but the average contractors, I don't have time for this shit. Everything's too busy. It's all moving parts and all that sort of stuff. But if they were to ask the question, how can I get help doing this? Right?
Yeah. So it's very simple. If you don't have these tools or you're too busy, first things first, come with the willingness to practice discipline. We will give you these tools. We will implement them in your business. We will hold you accountable for using them. But at the end of the day, there's one thing that I can't fix, and that's somebody that's unwilling to do what's necessary and what's going to get results, what's proven. All right. So I got to make that really, really clear, because I think there is some misconceptions that, a checklist or, an SOP is going to solve all the problems. No, that they're just tools. They're tools that help us and make our jobs easier and make things move smoothly. But we need to embrace them. We need to understand the value of them. And we also need to understand that nobody's above them. There isn't a contractor that's successful out there, not one that we can point at, that doesn't have these things in their business.